A 4-plate squat is so incredibly easy to get to once you know how. If you heard that and your first reaction was like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, actually only 1% of gym goers can squat 4 plates, you should probably click off this video. This video isn't for those of you who have convinced yourself that you've got bad genetics and you can never get strong. All of you have huge potential to get strong, you just need to know how. Now I understand why you have that mindset because I was exactly the same for years. My squat got stuck around 2 to 3 plates and I used to watch all these influencers squatting like 4 or 5 plates and justify it by saying like, oh, they've got way better genetics than me or they're just taking steroids, and that mindset kept me weak for years. In reality, my approach to strength training just wasn't very good. I followed cookie cutter programs like the ones you follow, 5x5, 5-3-1, Texas method. I did loads of my sets of squats really hard, close to failure, really grindy. I squatted once or twice a week, and it was all just the regular squat, no variations to target my weak points. And I thought I knew everything there was to know about strength training. No one could tell me anything differently. Now that I've learned more about training, I can squat 4 plates on any given day. It's one of my warm-ups, super easy. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how you can squat 4 plates step by step. If you don't have time to watch this video and go and apply the concepts, click the top link in the description and I'll personally coach you to a 4-plate squat, or click the second link if you just want some good strength training programs to go and follow. So here is exactly how to squat 4 plates. Thing number 1, I would recommend that you squat twice a week for most of you watching this. Some of you might want to squat 3 times a week if you're not a great squatter. Like myself, I squat 3 times, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to set that up. Our first squat day is going to be our primary squat. This basically means this is just like our highest priority squat. It's the one that we're really going to push. We're really focused on like adding weight to the bar and measuring our strength over time. So for most of you watching, that's probably going to be a low bar squat. So we've got our primary squat, and the way we're going to program that, we're going to do one top set of 1 to 3 reps at 80% of your 1 rep max and above. Then we're going to do some back down sets in the 60 to 75% range for like 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 6 reps, okay? So we've got a little bit of our work heavy and a little bit of the work like in more moderate to low intensities so that we can actually recover, adapt, and get stronger. The top set gives us our skill practice at low velocity strength production, so we actually get to handle some heavy weights, put some weight on the bar. The back off sets are that stimulus that keeps us adapting and actually getting stronger. So I would recommend that you start with this top set a bit lower in intensity on week 1 of your training block, and you're basically going to scale it up through the block, and I'll explain how that works a little bit later in the video. So once we've got the primary squat, we can probably do this on a Monday for most people. I would recommend that you do a secondary squat. And now if you're doing primary on Monday, I would do the secondary probably on like a Thursday. So you've got a couple rest days in between and you don't detrain too much. The secondary squat is going to be very similar. It might just be the regular squat again, or it might be a squat accessory that targets a weak point. So if, let's say, you struggle hitting depth in your squat, so you're not very confident in the bottom position, I might give you a pause squat where you get down to the bottom, you pause for 1 second, and then you come back up. Or we might do a pin squat where you set the safety pins in your squat rack, you squat down, you rest the bar on the pins for 1 second, and then you stand up. So this is useful because it allows us to directly target a weak point without just doing the regular squat over and over again. You will naturally self-organize your technique into the most efficient position with these variations put in place. So like for a pause squat, for example, it's very difficult to pause in a bad position. So naturally you'll realize, okay, this feels hard, and you'll readjust into a more efficient position, okay? So for that secondary squat, we're going to go with a top set back off approach again for most people. It's just going to be a little bit lighter. So we're going to do a top set of 3 to 6 reps at 75% and above. So just a little bit lighter than the primary. Then for the back offs, we're going to structure those very similar. So we're going to do 60 to 75% for 3 to 6 sets of 3 to 6 reps, okay? Now we've got this twice a week setup where we've got the primary, we've got the secondary, and this should be enough for most of you to make progress. It's probably an upgrade over what you're currently doing, and it should be enough stimulus that you keep getting stronger. Now, if you find that you're doing this twice a week setup and you're feeling really well recovered, you've got no muscle soreness, no joint pains, you feel really motivated and like ready to train, then you could add in a third squat. This is only really if you feel like understimulated. So like for myself, if I squat twice a week, I basically like detrain really quickly. And when I come back around to that Monday primary, I'll start feeling like I forgot how to squat. The movement just feels really sloppy and detrained. So I like to have a third squat. So the way my squat is currently set up, Monday will be my primary squat. Thursday will be my tertiary squat, so the really light one. And then Saturday will be my secondary squat. So if you're doing that twice a week setup, you feel really well recovered and you want to add some more squatting in, shift that Thursday one to a Saturday. And then on Thursday, we're going to add in a tertiary squat. So this is a much lighter squat. Basically, the purpose here is to kind of bridge the gap between the Monday primary and the Saturday secondary. We want a bit of stimulus in between to bridge the gap, keep the adaptations ticking over, and keep you skilled at the movement. For this tertiary squat, it's going to be very light at first because you don't want to just jump into heavy 3 times a week squatting at first, okay? So start nice and light. For most of you, I would recommend you do just a couple sets of like 5 or 6 reps, around 50 or 60% of your 1 rep max. And you're probably thinking like, oh, that's really, really light. And that's okay, it needs to be light at first. We just want to add a little bit of stimulus, like I said, to bridge the gap. So for myself, my coach had me doing 2 sets of 6 at 50% on a high bar squat. Sounds super light, it is really light, but it's enough stimulus to just keep me ticking over it, keep me getting stronger. Now, once you've put that in place and you feel like you're responding well to it, maybe if you feel like you need a little bit more intensity, we could add in one kind of top like priming set. So maybe we do like a top single or a top double. It's going to be relatively low intensity, so it might be like a single RPE 5 or 6, or like 80%, somewhere in that kind of range, 75 to 80%. And again, it's just a bit more skill practice to keep the adaptations ticking over. So for this slot, I would recommend you choose something like an opposite stance squat. So if you're a low bar squatter, I would do a high bar squat. You could do like a tempo squat, a pause squat. You could even do like a safety squat bar where you hold the handles here, or even a front squat or something like that. Just depends on your individual needs. So for most of you, I would go with twice a week, where we have Monday primary squat, which is the heavy one, Thursday, which is a secondary squat, which is like some kind of variation to target a weak point. For those of you who aren't very gifted squatters, you need more squat stimulus to get stronger, you can add that tertiary squat in, a very light variation like a tempo or a high bar, just to keep the adaptations ticking over, okay? So 2 or 3 times a week, and that should be enough to get you a much stronger squat. You're just gonna need to make slight tweaks over time. Now, I would recommend that you run this approach in blocks. So the setup I've just given you, either twice a week or 3 times a week, you can consider your microcycle. So this is 1 week of training, okay? So I want you to run this 1 week of training, and basically what I want you to do is aim to add weight to each of these squats every single week, okay? So if we say on week 1, you start with like 140 kilos for your top set of squats for 3 reps. The next week, you want to shoot for 145 to 150, then we'll go 150 to 155, 160 to 165, and we basically keep going until we hit a peak in performance. When you hit that peak, you're then going to see a drop off. So let's say you get to week 5, you feel super strong, that's your strongest week, you're able to squat like 160 kilos. Then in week 6, you drop off a little bit, it feels harder. Week 7, it feels harder again. That would tell me your peak is probably 5 weeks. So we're gonna run 5-week blocks because you peak on week 5. And then all we do is run blocks of 5 weeks. We start them light, end them heavy, and we basically just try and improve in each block. So if you started block 1 at 140 kilos, we try and start block 2 at like 145 kilos, 150 kilos in block 3, and we just try and start heavier, end heavier on each block in this kind of step model, okay? It's a very basic form of organizing your training, if you want to call it periodization, and it should allow you to progress long term and actually manage fatigue, because naturally the blocks start light, end heavy, so this wave model manages fatigue automatically for you. Now, obviously, over time, you're going to run into like plateaus and progress is going to slow down and stuff like that. Really super simple way that you can like troubleshoot these plateaus. If you feel like you are under recovered, you're going into sessions feeling beat up, like your knees hurt, like the weight feels really heavy, like it's crushing you, you're feeling really tired and stuff like that, bring down the stimulus a little bit. So decrease the intensity a little bit, maybe you reduce the sets a little bit, so you knock off a set or 2. If on the opposite side of that spectrum, you feel understimulated, you're going in, you feel really fresh, your knees feel great, no soreness, your motivation's really high, then and the weight's not going up, you might be understimulated. So you just do the opposite, add on a couple sets, push the percentages up a little bit. So instead of doing your back downs at 60%, maybe you do 65 or 70%. And that's kind of an easy way to just troubleshoot progress. If obviously when you get really strong, it gets quite confusing, you can click the top link, you can hire me, I'll make all the changes for you and do all of the troubleshooting and stuff like that, okay? Now, we also need to do some accessories, bodybuilding stuff, because we need to get bigger legs. If you're going to squat 4 plates, you probably need to have quite big legs to do it. So I would recommend that, number one, you choose a squat supplemental lift. So basically, this is going to be something that allows us to apply extra stress to the quads without fatiguing the lower back. Some of my favorites are the leg press, the bolt squat machine, or hack squats, okay? Choose one of these. I would do a couple sets, like 2 or 3 sets of like 8 to 12 reps. It's going to be pretty chill. Don't push it too hard, maybe like RPE 7 or 8. You can get harder towards the end of a training block. But again, basically, it's just we want to apply some more stimulus to the legs without fatiguing your lower back, okay? Now, number 2 on the accessories, if you feel like your quads are lagging a bit, you can also add in some like direct quad work, like higher intensity stuff. So that could be something like a single leg movement, like a single leg press, a Bulgarian split squat, something like that, or just some leg extensions. This one, we're going to push a little bit harder. It'll be like 2 or 3 sets of like 10 to 12 reps at RPE 7 to failure, depending on your recovery capacity, how much volume you need, stuff like that. This one is optional only for those of you who really need the extra leg development. Then I would recommend you also add in a hamstring isolation movement. The hamstrings don't contribute very much to a strong squat, but it's never going to hurt you to have bigger legs, and this will probably benefit your deadlift as well. For the hamstring isolation, simply pick either a seated or a lying hamstring curl. 2 or 3 sets. I like to program these for like 6 to 10 reps, RPE 7 and above, okay? And finally, this is another optional one. You can add in some direct ab work. I don't personally directly train my abs anymore just because I don't really feel like it's worth the time investment. I don't really care enough about doing them, honestly. But if you feel like they're a weak point, if you feel like you're constantly getting like caved over in your squats, or you just want like a more aesthetic, like 6-pack type appearance, I would choose 2 ab exercises. Choose one that's dynamic, so that can be some kind of like crunch, like a ab crunch machine, a decline sit up, a rope crunch. Then choose one static movement, like an ab wheel rollout, a plank, an owl sit, something like that. Basically, the dynamic one is really going to like build some solid muscle in the abs just visually for aesthetics. The static one is going to be a bit more specific for like performance on your squat, okay? So those are the main accessories I would go with. 1 squat supplement to train the squat pattern a little bit more if you need it. 1 quad isolation if you need the extra growth. 1 hamstring isolation just to kind of beef the legs up. And then 1 ab isolation from each category if you feel like you need the direct work, okay? So yeah, for the bodybuilding stuff, I would generally program it for somewhere between like 2 to 4 sets, 5 to maybe 12 reps, RPE 7 to failure. Again, RPE 7 near the start of the block, push it closer to failure near the end of the block. This stuff you just want to push really hard. So the strength stuff, we're taking a bit more of a structured, intelligent approach where we do some work heavy on the top sets. The bulk of the work is in the lower to more moderate intensities so that we can recover, adapt, and get stronger. On our bodybuilding stuff, because it's inherently less stressful, it's done on machines, cables, stuff like that. You can push this stuff harder with less fatigue cost. Really just try and beat the logbook every time. Try and get as big as possible, because a huge part of you getting to a 4-plate squat is just simply going to be getting jacked. The bigger your legs are, the better chance you have of getting a 4-plate squat. I want you to view it like this. The strength stuff is basically to get you really skilled, really proficient at the squat. The bodybuilding stuff is to get you as jacked as possible. When you put those 2 together, you will end up with a big squat regardless. There's no way you can't get stronger, okay, with this approach. So one final bonus tip to close out this video. If you don't already, I would highly recommend that you try the low bar squat. For most of you who want to squat as much weight as possible, the low bar squat is going to be the way to do it. It's just more efficient movement. It basically like artificially shortens the segment length of the spine so that you can lift a little bit more weight. I won't go into all of the details of it, but most of you, if you want to squat as much as possible, give the low bar squat a try, okay? Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope it kind of helps you to get towards a 4-plate squat. I really want the message to come through that all of you are capable to get very, very strong. Don't listen to these people online who are telling you, oh, like only 1% of guys can squat 4 plates. I've coached hundreds of guys. They all get to a 4-plate squat. I got there as like a naturally skinny guy with a pencil neck. So I promise you, all of you are capable of getting super strong. You just need a better approach, and I really hope this helps you out. If you need more like hands-on guidance, top link to hire me as your personal strength coach. Second link if you just want a good program to go and run. I've got another video here on how to build a stronger squat, so go click and watch that one. Thank you so much for watching. Any questions, comments, post them in the comment section down below. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next video.